We are back with lines 313 to 316 of Book 6 here. This is the crowd, the turba of dead that is wanting to get across the Acheron. And they all want to be the first to get over there into the underworld. Stabant orantes primi transmittere cursum, tendebantque manus repulterios utiliores amore. Navita sed tristis, nunc hos nunc accipit illos, ast alios longe summotos arced harena. So the subject here is they, and we know that because we see stabant, it ends in nt, and we see orantes, which is a plural nominative, and primi, which is also a plural nominative. They're all masculine, but it means men and women in this crowd. So primi is nominative, and orantes is nominative, and stabant's the verb. They is the subject. They first were standing, and orantes, praying or begging. I would also add in the word se, as Far suggests. And let me explain that. Se means themselves, as in an accusative form here. I would do it like this. The sense of what's going on here is not so hard to understand, but piecing it all together to translate smoothly is a little more tricky. So let me go slow. They first were standing, praying that, and it's like this is announcing an indirect statement, okay? Praying that they send themselves trans across the course, meaning of the river. I know that's kind of odd sounding. I'll paraphrase it in a second. They first were standing, meaning at the bank of the river, praying or begging that they send themselves across the course of the river. And maybe you could do it this way to make it sound make more sense, but it's not quite literal. You know, they were standing there praying to be the first to go across the river, the course of the river is the idea. They want to be first across the river. So that's where the primi comes in. But it really modifies them directly. They first were standing praying that they send themselves across the river. So that transmittere, the trans part of it, is going with this cursum. The cursum, Far tells us, is the object of the trans preposition. Mito, mitere is a verb, and transmito is a compound verb with this preposition added to it. But here the preposition is taking an object. The se is the object of mitere. This part of the verb is how I understand it. They want to send themselves across the course. They want to, the subject, they want to be the first to send themselves across the course. Now you might be thinking, doesn't Charon take them across in the boat? Well, he does, but as we're going to see in the later lines, the dead actually help propel the boat across the river, and Charon guides it, and he does the job of choosing who's going to get on the boat. So in a sense, they really do take themselves across. They really do send themselves across by their power. They're going to move oars, and there's a sail also, and things like that. So they are using some of their effort to send themselves across. It's not just Charon that's sending the dead across. Moving on. Tendebantque manus repulteriores amore. And they, this is the subject is the same, they were stretching, tendebant, they were stretching, manus, their hands, that's plural, by the way, their hands, ripae ulteriores amore. Let's take a look at amore, with love, with love, or with longing, you could say also. They're stretching their hands out in love or with love. Love of what? Love of ripae ulterioris, of the further bank. That's a genitive. Love of the further bank. We call it an objective genitive because it's the object of this love. Love for the farther bank or love of the farther bank. It is the object of what they love. So it's almost as if amore can, in a sense, have a verbal power here, because love can be a verb, right? Love of the farther bank. And they were stretching their hands out in love or with love of the farther bank. They want to get over there. Navitia sed tristis nunc hos nunc accipit illos. Ast alios longe sumotos arcet harena. The subject is Nawita, the sailor, and that refers to Charon. Nawita is a archaic form of Nauta, an older form of Nauta, so it's sailor, Nawita. And he is tristis, sad or gloomy, perhaps. But the sad or gloomy sailor, nunc, got some anaphora here, now accepts hos, these, nunc accipit illos, and now accepts those. Anaphora has the effect, it can have the effect of being like an et, of separating two part clauses, nunc hos, nunc illos. Now these, and now those. So the subject is accipit, he receives, and hos is accusative, and illos is accusative. Nunc is an adverb. But, and ast is an old form of at, and it's very convenient for Vergil to use ast, because notice that it can make a vowel long by adding now two consonants instead of just one. So ast he uses sometimes when he needs to make something long, and the first syllable, of course, is long, of any line. But he arcet, he keeps back. Alios, others, that's accusative. Sumotos, having been moved back or removed. Longe, far, aharena, and that's an ablative, from the sand, meaning from the shore. Abharena. So the idea is that he receives some into the boat, but others he keeps back, and they're not allowed to get in the boat. And Aeneas is going to ask why, and he's going to receive an answer from the Sibyl. The reason is because some have been buried properly, and they get accepted to go across, and some have not, and they have to stay until they either are buried properly or they've been there 100 years. Let's do this part one more time. But the sad boatman or sailor now receives these, now those, but he keeps back others, having been removed far from the sand. Sumotos is a perfect passive participle, so that's good to note. And it modifies alios, so they're both accusative, plural. Far gives a little note saying that what this sumotos means is that Charon keeps back and removes others from the sands. But Vergil expressed it not with two verbs, but rather with one verb and a perfect passive participle. But in English, we probably wouldn't say it that way. We would say he keeps back and removes the others far from the sand. So that would be the English sense. Latin, although can use... Latin, however, can use participles to do the jobs of verbs sometimes. So think of it that way. I'll go ahead and read it one more time and think about the meaning as we are reading it in Latin. Now I'll go over it again now that we've gone over it together. Stabant orantes primi transmittere cursum tendebantque manus repulterioris amore. Navita sed tristis nunc hos nunc accipit illos, ast alios longe sumotos arcet harena.